Welcome to Foundation Friday. The dedication and covenant of silent unity was signed on December 7th, 1892 by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, founders of the Unity movement. It is unlikely when they signed this covenant that they had any idea how far-reaching unity would be as it evolved into the church we know and love today. We invite you to join us as we explore and share some of the original ideas, teachings, and writings of the men and women who created the foundation of the Unity Church.
Hi there. You have found our Foundation Friday video collection. Today we are looking at a teaching by Lowell Fillmore. If you don't know, Lowell is the oldest of the three sons that Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, who founded Unity, had. Lowell grew up in Unity. He was a very young boy when his parents started Unity, and he went on to be an editor, a teacher, a lecturer, and very much a writer. He left us with his own unique style of teachings. For some reason, whenever I visit Lowell's teachings, I feel like he's kind of a cowboy in his down-home, simple logic. I hope you will enjoy this message. This one is called The World We Live In, the world you live in. And as always, he ends the lesson with 7 affirmations. And it was his teaching that as you're working on this lesson, you use 1 affirmation a day, and then you're working on it for a full week. So beware, you might want to have a pen and paper for those affirmations at the end. Here we go. Remember that you live in 2 worlds, the world God made and the world you are making. God made his perfect world by his word, and you are making your world by your words, which are sometimes spoken and sometimes unspoken. As your world grows more like God's world, you reap an increasing measure of blessings that your Father has prepared for you from the beginning. Remember that God's world is good, harmonious, prosperous, and peaceful. It is overflowing with good things. Goodness is its keynote, for God made it and pronounced it very good. But the average man's world has its weak spots in it, for he calls his world both good and evil. This popular mistake is symbolized by Adam and Eve's eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which caused their exile from the beautiful Garden of Eden. The children of Adam and Eve had continued to make the same mistake, which is keeping most of them out of God's world. But it is not God's will that any man should stay outside. God has therefore provided a door in man's heart through which he may return to his rightful place in God's perfect world. This door is the Christ, the I am within every person. All things in God's world has been provided for man's happiness and well-being. But there is one tree, the fruit of which man should avoid. It is called the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Among the good things God has given man is freedom. Freedom is necessary for man's happiness and development. But in it is the possibility of going too far and making license out of freedom. Man was given the freedom to choose the good that God has made for him, or to imagine things that God has not made, such as evil, which is not in accord with God's plan. In order to enjoy God's world, man must look for the good everywhere. Looking for evil seems to have become a bit of a general habit among men. When a person is engrossed in hunting for evil, he forgets the good and loses his connection with God's good world. He sometimes wonders how God tolerates so much evil in the world, not realizing that God is interested only in good and that it is man who promotes evil by believing in it. God's world is here all about and within us. It is heaven on earth. It will be revealed to anyone who has faith enough to enter into it through the Christ door within him. Man ignorantly takes the elements of God's world and uses them in various ways, some of which he calls good and some evil. And whosoever he calls them, and whatsoever he calls them, that's what they are to him. But man cannot change God, no matter what he calls the things that God has made. God knows that all things he has made are good. Man daily misuses the good things that God has given him and then classifies them as good or evil. God gave powers to man, and man uses these powers as he wills, sometimes for good and sometimes for evil. When a man believes in both good and evil, he cannot understand how it is possible for all men to be one in spirit, nor can he see how all can be children of the one Father. When a man tries to use God's power and substance to harm another man, he harms himself, because his good cannot be separated from the other man's good. By expressing love and goodwill toward the other man, he benefits himself because he becomes a co-worker with God in establishing mutual good. When a person uses God's forces to promote love and harmony, he makes himself and others happy and prosperous by bringing all a little closer to an understanding of the world that God created. By thinking loving thoughts and keeping our Christ self in view, we move ever closer to God because we are trying to conform to God's plan in governing his good world. Suppose a group of people are trying to work out a plan for the good of their community when suddenly one of them becomes angry because he happens to disagree with something another person says. What happens? He goes off the divine beam that would lead him to success, happiness, and cooperation. But if instead of getting angry, he silently calls upon God for more love and wisdom and endeavors in a kindly way to understand the neighbor's point of view, he leads the way to cooperation and goodwill and an ultimate successful plan for the benefit of all. There is a signpost at the crossroads where personal opinions diverge, which points clearly in the direction of God's highway of success, leading to heaven on earth. It reads, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself." A man's highest possible attainment and the one most satisfying to him is an understanding of his unity with God's good word and conformity to it in thought, word, and deed. A world of good and evil is a difficult world to live in, but we should not blame our loving Father God for the things in our world that make us unhappy. When things begin going wrong, we should turn within and ask for wisdom and guidance, that we may discover the riches that God has prepared for us, and that we have been ignorantly seeking for in our own self-made world. God's riches and good things are actually right at hand. The only obstacle that stands between us and them is our own personal will. Time is a spirit in man, and the inspiration of the Almighty giveth them understanding. Okay, grab your pen and paper. We're getting ready to do the affirmations. Ready? Here we go. The first one is kind of short. I'll read it slowly. I dedicate my world each day to God so that it may be in tune with His good world. And the second one, I joyously enter into the spirit of God's good world by going through the door of Christ, the I am within me. Here's the next one. My thoughts, words, and deeds are dedicated to the purpose of establishing God's good world in my life and affairs. Okay, here's the next one. I am happy because God has placed His mighty power and substance in my hands to use in expressing His glory. I'll read that one again. I am happy because God has placed His mighty power and substance in my hands to use in expressing His glory. Okay, the next one. The Christ in me is saying, I am the door. I am the way and the truth and the life. No one cometh unto the Father but by me. Okay, here's the next one. There is a spirit in me, and the inspiration of the Almighty gives me understanding. We're almost done. Two more. Here we go. I love God with all my heart, soul, and strength. And I love my neighbor also. Oops, I miscounted. That was the last one. So you should have 7 affirmations. If not, you might want to roll the video back a little bit and pick them up. So these are the affirmations to use as we turn our life into the life God would have for us. I hope you enjoyed the lesson today. This lesson and so much more is available to you free of charge at truthunity.net. It's a resource wealth of all of Unity's teachings from years and years gone by. Before we go, please know you matter. You are sacred, and you are so, so very loved. Thank you for being here. Namaste.
Thank you for joining us, and let's stay connected and grow in spirit. We are on Facebook. Search for Unity Church of El Cajon and follow us and like our posts. You can reach us on YouTube at Unity Church of El Cajon. Please subscribe to our channel, watch our videos, and leave comments which can help us improve. We are on the web at unityofelcajon.org. Email or call our church office to receive our weekly newsletters, which lists all of our activities and opportunities to learn and grow together.